How's it going, everyone? Ryan Shrimp here with ToplessRobot.com. I recently had the incredible privilege to get to talk with Jackson Publick and Doc Hammer, the creators of one of my personal favorite Adult Swim series, and certainly one of the longest-running Adult Swim series, The Venture Brothers. Those of you who have seen some of my other works know that I did a series of videos of Dr. Girlfriend reading excerpts from fake selections of 50 Shades of Grey. And so it was a real exciting privilege to get to chat with them for a bit to promote the upcoming release of Venture Brothers Season 7 on Blu-ray, which is coming out on June 4th. So definitely check out Venture Brothers Season 7 when it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD on June 4th. And if you're unfamiliar with the Venture Brothers, you can find Seasons 1 through 6 on Hulu. And I highly, highly recommend that if this is a series that you've overlooked, stop it. Just get on Hulu and watch The Venture Brothers, because it really is something special. So without any further ado, here is Doc Hammer and Jackson Publick.
Hi, Brian.
Cool. Hi, Brian.
Ryan with an R.
Oh, sorry. Hi, Ryan.
How's it going?
It's Ryan.
Ryan also has an R, though.
Yes. Well, yeah, but starting with an R.
Yeah.
So,
like Ryan's Hope.
Ryan's. I have no hope. All of the hope is gone.
No, Ryan's Hope. It's an old soap opera. You don't remember Ryan's Hope?
I'm not.
Soap operas.
I'm not up on my soap operas.
Never
mind. So,
no, never mind. That was a stupid reference.
It's a real pleasure to get to talk to you guys. I've been a huge fan of the Venture Brothers since it started. And since it's been going on for so long, it's hard to adequately put together a good collection of questions because it spans, since like 2002, 2003. And the story has gone through so many different waves and arcs in that time that it's hard to pinpoint, one thing or another in that to focus on. But I'll start with probably the most pressing question. Season 8?
We're being cagey about it, but at the same time, we have begun deep conversations about it. So you may pull from that what you want.
As long as it's a thing that's on the table and we will maybe see in 2 or 3 years.
All right, we like to think so.
Yeah, we like to think so. And if somebody says no, it doesn't matter. We're still going to write the damn thing. We don't care.
So at this point, with downtime over between the past few seasons has been about a couple of years. Are you spending that time exclusively working on the next season, or have you guys been doing working on other projects as well?
Pretty much the in-between time is spent on the show.
It's spent on the show and recuperating from the show.
Yeah. There's like a couple of months of recuperation, and then a couple of months of also like remembering to go see movies and read books and like draw and crap again, and for you painting, I assume, just remembering that you have a life and sort of taking things in again, just reconnecting with the world, because your gas tank is just fucking empty at the end of a season, and then we start plotting the next season, and then it takes us a while to write, and we don't start production until most of the scripts are done now. We used to just go by the seat of our pants, and we'd start production when we only had 2 or 3 scripts written, and then we'd be writing during production, which was just impossible, and that's why all the earlier seasons were so late. But now everything happens in a linear fashion, so it just takes a long time. And then once we're making them, that takes over a year, even when you're just full on making it. So, yeah, it takes a while because there's only 2 of us.
It's a tough thing to write. We don't have a writer's room.
You guys both kind of do a whole lot on the series. On top of both of you probably carrying the lion's share of voices on the series, you're also the creators and writers and artists. I mean, like, this is a true labor of love for the two of you. Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, it's for sure. It has to be. Well, if you're doing something that isn't, your career sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I agree with that.
I want to believe that. Every plumber, I want to believe, wakes up and thinks like, if I put in a trap a little bit differently, I think I can get much better water. I want them to wake up thinking about plumbing and then go to bed thinking about like how they could be a better plumber. And if they're not doing that, their life is not rich. We're obsessive, geeky people that make an obsessive, geeky show for obsessive, geeky people to watch.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and we're spoiled because people watch it, so we get to do that.
Yeah.
Instead of doing plumbing, we're not interested in.
we have obsessive, geeky fans that come up with weird theories and stuff. It's a weird thing.
That's the real key thing, is that once you find that thing to be obsessively geeky over is finding the people who also want to watch the obsessively geeky thing that you're making. I find that's the real hurdle of the creative process.
I hope they do. I hope. I have a deep fear that people, a friend who's like really into the show will tell their friend about it. Like, oh, you watch Rick and Morty? You'd love the Venture Brothers, right? So they go on to Hulu and watch the first 2 episodes and go, what the fuck are you talking about? This is the stupidest show I've ever seen. It's like this clunky old animation in a bad aspect ratio. I'm terrified that people won't sit there and just trust us and keep going till when the show really picks up. There's so many great shows that are good out of the gate.
The second I hear that wonderful tone of Patrick Warburton's voice, I'm pretty much in it, for the long term.
Yeah, no, that's people like you were there in the beginning when you had few choices. But nowadays people can turn on Netflix and Hulu. They can watch anything they want. They can watch anything they want. They can watch all of it.
And all the new shit that people are saying is great. Like, it all looks the same. It's like there is no weird, awkward early learning curve phase of it. It just arrived on Netflix looking the way it does, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people have to watch us grow up. It's crazy.
You're seeing a lot more of these shows that started from like, oh, well, this guy worked on this show, so of course it kind of looks like that show, and Craig of the Creek and Steven Universe, Ben Levin coming out of Steven Universe and making Craig of the Creek, and hits the ground running with a polished product. But I imagine it was a lot more difficult in those early years. Like, that was less of a thing in the early aughts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, we were like a little indie comic or something like that, that suddenly got picked up by a mainstream publisher, and then it was like, oh crap, we gotta get better at inking.
We gotta step up our game. And I think if people give our show a chance and really keep going, it has elements that I don't think exist anywhere else in TV or movies. There is something in what we do that really is exclusive to our show. But man, you really got to sit through a lot of bullshit to get it. It takes a while. It takes a while for it to start paying off, and that kind of feeling that you get when you watch something that you love and you go, these idiots made this show just for me. Like, I know nobody else thinks it's funny. Only I think it's funny. And that's the kind of show we make, that it appeals to only one person, and that one person is repeated all over the place.
What I really love about it, though, is that on the face of it, it's a Johnny Quest satire. Like, it's satirizing Johnny Quest. But it becomes so much more than that, in that you guys have created an entire world that incorporates Johnny Quest into it, but is also, you're making Residence jokes, and you're making, like, just these obscure indie nerd jokes that, that one person sitting at home is really going to enjoy. And apparently it's worked well for you, though. And it's certainly, you've certainly helped in bringing in a lot of, and working with a whole lot of incredible talent as well. Looking through some of the voices that you've had on here. I mean, Kate McKinnon, Paul F. Tompkins, Clancy Brown, John Hodgman, and of course my personal favorite when you had Kevin Conroy in there. I mean, and Mark Hamill. It's incredible you've had in there. And
we had Stephen fucking Colbert for a while.
Yeah.
No, Well, it's weird because. What happened when we started this show, the geeks were just beginning to rise. And now, you have the Avengers being the only movie on the planet, and it's a blockbuster, you know what I mean? So when people talk about, like, okay, the geeks have taken over and now pop culture is geek culture, we're true geek culture. Like, our show is still formulated not for mass production. It really is still for this kind of deep, obsessive, true geek that wants to have a tiny Stiv Bators joke, or wants to, like you said, wants a little teeny Residence joke, or Dr.
Or a Venture Brothers joke. Like, we're geeking on our own stuff now.
Yeah. That it's what happens when we're real geeks. We're not guys writing a big Hollywood movie where we have the rights to play with Captain America. We're actual geeks making actual geek TV.
Yeah.
So there still is this kind of deep geek. And I think that's what the Venture Brothers really is.
We're just successful enough to keep going, but not so successful that people are looking at it going, hey, there's a lot of money riding on this. You better not go down that story path.
It sounds like a good place to be.
But I mean, that's Adult Swim in a nutshell too, They just go, yes, go crazy, go to town. We'll keep going as long as this works, and then we won't.
Yeah, as long as somebody cares.
Yeah, we've had unprecedented creative freedom, and they deserve props for that, I think.
Yeah, and
no other network would let this happen.
It has definitely served you extremely, extremely well. And I would ask how you guys come up with your ideas, but I think that anyone could watch any number of videos of the two of you on a panel out there and watch the way you two talk, and you could watch an episode be created in that conversation in that moment. You two seem to have a very specific, incredible friendship and rapport, and it really seemed to feed off of each other very well. How did you meet? How did you stumble into this creative partnership?
We just put out a book recently that tries to explain how all this began. That the what's it called? Go Team Venture. The blah blah blah.
Right. The art and something, I don't know.
Yeah, the art and making of the Venture Brothers, and we try to explain how we did this. And I have completely rewritten history and made a myth out of it because I don't remember it happening. At no point did somebody ever tap me on the shoulder and go, "Remember this? Someone's going to ask you later." I have no memory of it. But what I do remember is that a long time ago, Jackson was at a party telling me about this idea that he had, and he told me that the scene, it's in the pilot, of the guys that were in a meteorite, and it lands, and the people that were in the meteorite are trapped in it through the entire episode. Right? And that was like the big joke that I had. And this is a guy, I knew Jackson through Ben Edlund, who created The Tick, and we would meet at parties, and we would create a clique. Like Jackson and I would just hang out with each other and make each other laugh, and it was this kind of impenetrable click, like, oh my God, these two are on the same wavelengths. And then after the party, he'd go his separate, I'd go my way. We never called each other. We never decided to create we never decided, like, hey, let's be best friends. Never decided to do that. And every time we met each other, it was, deep romance of like being able to riff together and laughing at the same things and be, selling each other on what we do. And, I did something, he's like, wow, that's great. And he did something, I'm like, wow, that's great. And we never became friends till, one day he moved into my painting studio to work on something. I don't know what he was doing. And
I was sharing a one-bedroom apartment with a roommate, and I needed a place to work. So I was probably doing storyboards or something like that. Or maybe even like the Monkey Suit comics, Yeah,
and we would play darts together because we're people that when we're together we play. It's a very strange thing. The Venture Brothers is a form of our play. We get adolescent jackassy around each other and just stick around. We're playing darts and working on this bizarre narrative of Aquaman and Black Manta, who, living together. It was just this, it would never, it didn't have a point. We weren't going to write it, but we spent the entire dart game, which was 8 hours of just idiots throwing darts. Working
on
out,
this relationship,
working this thing out. I mean, that one thing that we did showed up in like 5 episodes. It's like where we came up with Dr. Venture in the deep sea diving suit from
right. It was also the birth. It was also the birth of the Monarch's voice, because that's how I was doing Black Manta in conversation, having no memory. I had no idea what Black Manta sounded like. I did not remember him well.
Yeah, and the real Black Manta has a voice like we didn't know that, but now that we do know that, a few months ago, we're just sitting in the Astrobase. And we were doing that same thing with those same two characters of like what it was like when Aquaman and Black Manta were kids.
Right. Oh my God. And that was 8 hours. And we shredded our voices. We shredded our voices because now we were trying to do real Black Manta voice, except when he was like 12.
Sure.
And so we were like, Aquaman.
We're gonna get your BMX bike. We're gonna go to the river. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, but I mean, actually, even before that Dart conversation, our very first collaboration was Dart related because it was back when we still were just hanging out. Like Ben lived around the corner from a bar, and we would all meet there. And the bar had darts, and we would play sometimes, and we started noticing that there were other really devoted dart people in the bar, and there were team events and stuff like that. Sometimes you'd go, and like you couldn't play darts because it was a weird competition going on with a real team. And they always had punny dart-based pun names for their teams. And so you and I ran up to Ben's apartment and decided our team's name was going to be Dart2D2.
So
you designed a patch.
We had to make a logo.
Waiting for us. Our friends are waiting for us for like 2 hours. Like, are you guys coming?
Yeah.
Yes. We're finish the Dart Pad.
Hold on a second. We're working in Illustrator doing the logo for Dart 2D2. And when we were done with it, just like everything we did when we were done with it, and we were so proud of our patches, and they were like these paper stickers that we put on our shirts. And we went there, and nobody cared. Nobody even said anything.
Because they hadn't been living in it for 3 hours like we were.
Yeah, and it was, Jackson was sitting over my shoulder. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to put that on there." And I'm like, so, like, we always had this relationship of when we're together, we do something. You know what I mean?
And care too much about it. And nobody else is in there with us.
And you eventually just
obsessive. So
televised it.
Yeah, when we started doing this, we just rolled that relationship into us both caring way too much about this thing.
That's awesome.
And it's more than awesome. It's almost unprecedented. The way that when Jackson writes an episode, he writes the entire episode. When I write an episode, I write the entire episode. And they merge seamlessly together. We have the same language. We have the same interests. That is the rarest thing ever. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And we understand it, and we don't know how it happened, and it wasn't something we planned. We just found each other. It is a romance.
That's awesome. That it really is incredible that it worked out. I guess the last question that I usually end interviews with is what is something that no one knows about your job that you wish that they did?
Well, I think we're open with all this stuff, and we talk about it in the DVD commentary. But what I always wish that people truly understood is that we don't have a writer's room. We don't have people that their only job is to deal with continuity. We'll kind of draft somebody or call somebody and go, "Does anybody remember what kind of car Phantom Lim drove?" And they can find out that it was, whatever had the 100
Rolls-Royce Phantom.
He's a Phantom, but then he also had an Accord with a ghost painted on the hood, right? Was it Accord?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. It doesn't matter, but we have to do that. So in a conversation, Jackson and I are talking, and I can hear him typing, doing a search through our old scripts to deal with continuity.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I always wanted people to understand, is that these are just two guys trying to keep all this, like, years and years of nonsense in our heads, without a writer's room, without a lot of help doing it. And I want them to stand back and go, "Okay, when your show sucks, I forgive you. I forgive you."
Yeah, well, fortunately, I don't think that we've run into that yet. I don't really think that
it's good that they call stuff out. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't think that there's any point that I could say has been, it sucked or anything like that. It just goes through different movements, and it's on a new movement now that's telling a new story, and I have been loving every bit of it. And thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. It's honestly been a really big privilege to get to talk to you guys as a longtime fan. Honestly.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you so much.
I actually have a series of videos that I released of myself reading fake excerpts from 50 Shades of Grey in Dr. Girlfriend's voice. If you ever want to track those down sometime. I just always imagine Dr. Girlfriend just sitting down. She's got, her copy of 50 Shades of Grey, and she's ready. She's just going to read it out loud to herself a little bit. And it's my favorite image.
That's not bad. You put in a little bit of the Long Island. That most people leave out the fact that she has a deep Long Island accent. Most people forget that exists. So I'm
it's one of my favorite voices to do. As a voice actor, it's one of my favorite voices to do.
Good. If I ever retire, you can pick it up.
Oh, I have to say, she has better taste in literature than that. I think she'd get like 10 pages and go, "This is garbage.
This is crap." If she did read it, she would read it out loud to the monarch and just be offended by every line. Oh my God! Is she going to talk about his soft jeans?
A woman wrote this? Are you fucking kidding me?
This is terrible.
Oh my God! Get a life, lady. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to take too much of your time here. Thanks again so much, and hopefully, I'm looking forward to season 8 whenever that happens. And hopefully, we'll see you around.